Aaron, what are we talking about today?
Today is where marketing and operations meet. It kind of sounds like a rom-com. Like, so if there was a rom-com around operations, this might be it. But
Hmm.
let's talk about it, Taryn, where marketing and
Yeah,
operations meet.
yeah. Um, it's definitely a rom-com. I'm not sure which one's which, but we do have marketing and operations meeting. But with marketing, we do end up hiring a lot of contractors. We discussed that last week. Different specialists you want to bring in that are your sharpshooters in one area, graphic designers, funnel people, ads people. We are, you know, there are lots of experts out there, lots of agencies that have experts under them. There's the Collab Team. We're experts at being experts, and then um, it's like the
That didn't fall on deaf
operation.
ears. I was going to laugh at that, but I felt like I was going to mess up your momentum. So go ahead. I love it. Experts at being experts. Like I would say operations experts, solution experts, but experts is good too. I love it.
Yeah, we're experts at experts. Um, so yeah, it's meeting the operations solutions of the marketing hats, and I know a lot of us in here have been with marketing people, and it's a different breed. Definitely different eyes. They're looking at different things. So how do we get behind that? How do we wrap around those marketing genius people? Sometimes our successful entrepreneurs are really successful marketing people too. It's
Yep.
what's gotten them to where they are. Um, it's one of the last things they might even give up marketing after they give up their finances because they think they're the marketing creative behind their entire brand and image. Um, so it is, the solutions behind the marketing. Aaron, anything you want to add in as I jump into this?
Yeah, I think just the realization of a lot of times, like the goals can be misaligned. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just different goals from a marketing perspective versus somebody that's on fulfillment, somebody that's running it more from operations. And how do you align the magic? Because you really need both, but one can't throw so much waves that it's like deterring or inhibiting the other. On both of you have goals. The end goal is obviously to take people through customer journey, right? Like
Mhm.
that should be everybody's end goal. You can't just bring them into the boat and then not get them out the back end of the boat well. So I think that just the realization of we're probably coming from two different worlds, two different goals, two different mindsets, and how can we bring those two together in a way that is best for the customer? Because in the end, that's what keeps all of our business moving forward, right? It's the customer. It's not about marketing and it's not about operations or fulfillment. It's about the customer and how are we going to take the customer on the best customer journey and not burn out our team or cause chaos on our internal teams in the process. So I would say that's kind of how I framed up the lives this morning.
Yeah, and it's the expectations and workflows involved in all those avenues too. Making sure that your marketing people, they understand they're not just working in their silo, but what's best for the entire team. um, we deal with it in situations where marketing people, they just want to get customers, but then the operations people, they're like, well, these customers are terrible, like can we like get together and line up what that means by customers, because these aren't even in the right country. um,
Terrible.
so you really need, like, okay, what were the expectations? Like, okay, we need customers in this range. And then once you get customers, okay, then you can start working through the processes. So they just might not be working with the correct expectations.
Can I give a little story, a little anecdote, a little
Yeah.
example from this week? So
I
we were
love
on a marketing call earlier this week with Keith Yackey, which is always one of our like funniest, most lively, like live wires of any of our clients. Keith is just a funny dude. But anyway, funny in the best ways. He's just the life of the party. Anyway, and so with Keith, we'll come to those marketing meetings and sometimes he's either super pissed, you know what I mean, because things aren't resulting the way he wants from the marketing company, or super excited if things are going the way he wants them to go, right? And it's kind of depends on how the outcome is coming, which is great. He's paying a lot of money for marketing, which is awesome.
it.
But in this past meeting, he's like, the marketing guys came in, they're like, they're so excited. They've got their cost per clicks down. I mean, they've got, man, that they can't believe how much they're turning into this whole, this churn cycle for Keith as far as the sales process. And Keith comes on, he's like, yeah, but those leads are shit. Like you did, you're super pissed about it because we're getting a lot of leads in, but then when Keith is jumping on sales calls, or salespeople are jumping on sales calls for Keith, like it ends up they don't have money, right? And so we got great leads in, and the marketing team's like celebrating. Yeah, we've got look at our cost per click. Look at the people we're bringing into the pipeline. Look at all this. And Keith's like, yeah, they're all broke and don't have money, so nobody's purchasing our product. So yeah, it's all about expectations, right? Marketing super excited. Keith on the fulfillment side of things is like, no, that's actually not our client base. So,
yep. And they were working under the wrong expectation of more leads is more money, is the better. Right. Like this in this situation, they don't want more leads. They'd rather have one good lead than 20 bad leads, because there's no further product. There's no downsell. There's nothing. If they don't qualify for this, they're out.
Right.
So yeah, the marketing people, that's always the best one. We work with a lot of people. They're hiring experts in marketing and doing ads, because all these ad sites, the Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, they change so much, and the experts actually know what they're doing in these situations. Yeah. But we've also, worked in the situations where maybe they're over promising or not delivering what they're promising, or in this situation with Keith, like they got all these great leads and everything, but we're like, okay, yeah, they're trash leads though. Yeah. And then you end up burning through vendors because you're just switching vendors over and over again, and you get this brand new marketing vendor, and you just burn through them, and then they're out the door, and you got to spend all this time again investing in a new marketing ad vendor. So if you don't get your processes in place for like the expectations, then you're going to continue burning through these vendors. That's going to be a lot of chaos.
And I think
not just switching through a lot, but like you can't, if it ends up being friction, then you can't go back to them for help later. So, you have to think about, if they're not suiting you, then that's one thing. But if it's a communication issue that causes, you don't want to burn any bridges.
Well, I think too, I mean, obviously, and I think you're doing a great job just teasing us into it, making us so excited, like all on the edge of our seat. Can't wait to see what you say next about what we're going into with this. But I think that what we're trying to accomplish today in the topic we're discussing today is, how do we, because a lot of times the visionary may be maintaining this vendor relationship, which can be sometimes a crapshoot, right? Like either it's going to go really good or it's going to go really bad. It doesn't usually end up somewhere in between, So like, is this a good fit? Is this not a good fit? But we've worked with a lot of entrepreneur visionaries that burn through vendors. Like they're just burning through them because they're managing the relationship. But if we, from the operations side of things, can kind of help set some of the expectations, help frame up some of the conversations, then like the visionary can still manage within his workflow. But sometimes I think that we burn through vendors, not because they were bad vendors, but because we didn't set the expectations right at the beginning, and we didn't have good workflows. So they couldn't even get us the results we wanted because we didn't set them up for success on how fulfillment was going to happen, how the sales process was going to happen, how all those things downstream from them were going to happen. So then it wasn't that they weren't able to give us good results, like we were talking about with Keith's call, like they're getting us results. It's that we need to reframe the expectations and then explain to them, hey, this is how it's happening downstream. Once we get these leads, how can we tweak with that? Because there's actually should be a process, and how can we help visionary put those kind of processes into place? Because usually the visionary's mind space isn't thinking about processes downstream. He's thinking about, how can I get people on the boat? And we need to keep them on the boat. So anyway, Taryn, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, I love it. Steal all the thunder you want. I got tons of thunder.
Oh yeah, you do bring the thunder.
Thunder from down under.
Oh no, don't bring that thunder. We don't want that thunder. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, when you're dealing with the vendors, you got to hold the line too. I'm just lost now.
You can't rebound that one. You can't rebound that one. That's fine. It's okay. You want to hold the line on their request, because a lot of times they're coming in with expectations, right? Yeah, better one, Kimberly. Thank you for saving the day. So I would say, realizing as every new vendor comes in, they're always trying to prove themselves, right? Like
Mhm.
that's how they maintain clientele base, is proving their results. And a lot of times they come in with their own SOPs or things they roll out on team, and it creates this chaos within internal team of, now this new vendor is asking for all this stuff that we're not used to providing. And what Taryn and I, what we've all found on the Collab team is a lot of times that new vendor doesn't even need all that stuff. That's just a boilerplate ask for request. And then it puts our team into all this churn of like what we have to bring back and all these unnecessary details to, no, what do we need? And I think that's, Taryn, where you were going to go before I derailed you.
Yeah, exactly. What do we need? Why are we doing it? Are we even doing it? I know, worked with a client that wanted to do the evergreen challenge model.
Yep.
I know Rainmakers works with that too. So this guy came on to do the evergreen challenge model, which sounds great. It's working for Rainmakers. This other client we have didn't end up doing it,
Yeah.
but this vendor they hired built everything out. I even had to spend hours answering this onboarding questionnaire, this form, and get all this information to this guy to build it out, and all the access he needed, all the tools. And I'm just checking with people like, is this real? Like, is this really going on? Do I need to put all my effort into this? And apparently it was real. Everything got built out. It's not real. It went nowhere. They aren't even using it. So just being able to ask the questions and hold the line and be like, okay, like we do have this shiny brand new thing we just onboarded, but what's it going to do? What's the end goal? Are we even going to use it? Or the entrepreneur just find a new shiny thing to
Because
throw
Taryn, you
at
love
us?
that, right? You love it when people ask you to burn a ton of time building out a bunch of stuff that then I think the funniest part about it all is like, sometimes you can test that out to people that don't see the end results, but like, we see all the metrics. We know if you're pushing people at this thing or not. And so like all the stuff can get built out, but then we know you never even pushed go. You never even pushed it out to that partner. You never even rolled it out to those people the way you said you were, visionary. And so like, I think Taryn always loves, and the result of today's call, and that's why I keep smiling so big when Taryn starts talking, is I want to poke at him a little bit, because this is like super hot topic for Taryn, of people asking him to do a bunch of BS stuff that never ends up getting rolled out, but Taryn wastes hours of his life building it out for somebody. And it's like, sure, you're going to pay us to build it. It's not an issue of pay. It's an issue of nobody wants to waste time. I don't want to take your money on something you're not going to end up using because there's no ROI on that. You just invested with no return on your investment. So anyway, Taryn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, I mean, yeah, it's not fun. So what are the expectations for that vendor? I guess, it wasn't even really clear. They were just kind of brought out in the middle, and somebody dispersed around to different people what they needed to do. So there's no real hierarchy, expectation, or workflow in this vendor. Marketing just thought, let's do this. Let's get some shiny new leads in, evergreen style.
Yep.
So, and sometimes the vendors, they come with their requests, and sometimes they want to build inside of their own systems and infrastructure. That's not always a good idea. Sometimes you want to make sure you are upfront with them in what your team is doing operationally. You're not going to hire on a vendor and then just start using Google Meets because they want to use Google Meets or Google Hangouts. It's like, no, you're not going to switch our whole company to Google Meets if we're all using Zoom.
Right.
So you do need to be upfront with them too, and make sure they don't just walk on you, because they might take advantage and walk on you and start wanting to do things their way.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Especially if you have multiple vendors. I think what we're trying to talk about today is creating workflows that work for your company, so you don't throw chaos into your company every time we bring on a new vendor or a new application of a vendor. Like how can we create workflows in a way that cuts down on chaos on internal team and brings best success for the vendor too, because we want them to have a good experience. We want this to be a relationship that works. If they're quality people and they can turn out quality results, let's get those two to meet where they're able to bring quality results without changing our whole pipeline. If we're not on monday.com as a company, do we want to adapt a system that's all wholly dependent on monday.com for managing the workflow? If we're not using Pipedrive to manage a sales pipeline down the line, do do we want to adapt their suggestion of us taking on this whole new platform when really that's going to work? A lot of companies, we already have some of these things in place. And so when they come in with suggestions, of course, they're going to suggest the easiest things for them, but realize they're a vendor, like they're getting paid, like they're not our pal. Like, so let's get them to work within our work frames of, hey, we love the magic, bring your magic. But this, you're suggesting Monday we use Asana. You're suggesting we use pipe drive. We actually use Salesforce, whatever the comparables are, because a lot of times it's just a platform change. And how can we get it so that it actually speaks our language? Otherwise, that's usually what causes vendor fall off, right? Is that they're speaking a different language. Our team doesn't speak that language. And then it's not that they're failing, it's that we're all on the wrong page, instead of how can we put everybody on the right page by giving them the best expectation as they enter into the relationship.
Yeah, and we can take the example back to the ads people again. That's always a good one, because it seems like there's a lot of people doing ads. All the clients we worked for have burned through tons of different people to do their ads. Nobody is working with the same one anymore. But you get your ads company, and immediately they're going to fire off a bunch of requests for you. They're going to ask for, target lists, copy, graphics, links, reporting. They're going to have all this information they need from you. They might need access to their Facebook account. They might need access to your CRM. They might need access to your funnels.
All your video library, all these things. Like, it's like, wait a minute. Okay, slow it down. Like all your asset library, and maybe you have your stuff organized like that, but maybe you don't, so it's like, no, okay, sorry. Clarify for me, what is it you need exactly though? Because I could go on some random goose chase for the next 3 days trying to track down all this data, and then you're not even going to use it. It was just like some boilerplate ask list but what are we hiring you to do right now? Like, what is it that you need?
Yeah, exactly. They might say they want access to your CRM, just so they can get your target list. So it's like, okay, do you really need access? Because if I give you access, then your next question is going to be, what's your target list? When I could just go download that and give it to you right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's why are they doing these things? They tell you to sign up for Integromat or whatever the Zapier recommendation is, but maybe that's just because they have an affiliate account there. You can be like, well, wait a minute, I have Zapier. Isn't that just as good? Do I really need this other thing?
Right.
And be like, yeah, that's fine. So you got to really ask the questions there too. There's also the disconnect between people making ads and running ads.
Yeah.
And making sure there's the clear line of communication there. A lot of times what's great with these vendors is if they have one point of contact on the team, and that one point of contact then knows who has the answers. So that way that vendor isn't tagging 10 different people in Slack for one question just because they don't know who has the answers. But they can tag one person, say, listen, these are the questions I need answered. I'm not sure who has the answers. And that one person could then make sure that the other people get it. Something we always see break in this situation is when a link changes, it breaks things. I don't know if people understand this, but you can't just change a link and not tell anybody about it.
Right.
Happens all the time still.
Yeah.
Especially as you're working with vendors, you start to hear a lot of the noise too. You change a link and ads go down. Ads no longer redirect. Ads take days to approve. So it's not like you can just change the link in the ad and be all good. You also have somebody else who created the graphic for the ad. They need to now update the graphic for the ad, for the link change, that somebody just thought was a good idea and didn't realize it had all these other steps involved. So we do see that a lot. Running target list, copy, and sometimes even just not having the stuff available for the ads team is a big headache. When they get ads in review, they need to actually be linked to the correct page so that Facebook reviews the page so that they can push the ads, since they review all the ads.
Yep.
So if you're not getting that built up on your processes internally, then your ads team can't do what they do. They might get a bad rep from you for not being able to promote. Maybe they didn't get as many leads as you wanted, but maybe that's because they only had half the amount of time.
Yes.
And then also being able to set them up in a way where you're not just relying on what they're reporting they're earning you, because they can say,
Right.
we got 800 leads for you. But you can go to your funnel page that you gave them the link to, that nobody else has a link for, and you see that you only got 500 opt-ins. So it's like, okay, well, where's the disconnect? Why are you telling me you got 800, but we actually only took in 500 emails? So it's always good to be able to set it up in a way where you can do a little bit of double checking and everything, making sure that you're not just relying on what they're saying, but you can look into it more. Anything else, Aaron, with this example here?
I think you're covering it well. Big picture, I think in all these things that we're discussing is, and a lot of times the visionary doesn't like it when operations people try and pump the brakes. And so you got to be really careful how you get to this. But I think Taryn is really, really good and has gotten really, really good at asking, okay, but what are we trying to accomplish? Like, give me a clear line on this is what we're trying to accomplish. Because a lot of times you can really help them, guide them, set them up for success, and set your team up for less pain if you help guide the ship a little bit on what. So are we trying to get, are these ads are trying to get them to this live event that's coming up in 2 weeks from now? Okay, that is a lot clearer than you need every single Pedro Adeo piece of like creative that I have. You need every piece of video that I've got. You need all of our like who is our target market and all these different pieces of no. Like, so this is our avatar. This is what we're trying to get him to. And this is the very, like, here are the simple creatives. You only need the creatives around this event, right? You need the logo for this event. You need some pictures of Pedro. You need to like, what are the very clear things? Because then it cuts down and we can get really laser pointed on what are we trying to accomplish here, rather than spending a bunch of time with them and losing time, rather than just getting to the real point of what we're going after. And then I would say too, Taryn, like as you start are getting used to working with vendors and seeing multiple requests come about, start creating an internal SOP around. So typically these kinds of vendors need X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to start building out folders that I can just share with them. So that as soon as they come to me, I know they're probably going to ask for one of these 3 things in some given order. And so I've already got it built out, ready for them, because I know they're going to do it. So the way we've done it in the past too is create a Google Sheet where there are quick links in there to the assets. Instead of having to give them access to all your different platforms, they need your Dropbox logins, they need your all these different things that they're going to ask for logins for. No. Send them a sheet that you can share with them or unshare with them, so you've got controls, right? And then show them all the different pieces. Here's where the swipe copy is. Here's where our visual assets are. Here's where our logo work. And then all of that is controlled by one major spot that you can turn off, turn on, because if they fall out, you're not going to want to go back through. A lot of times we forget to go and unshare, through LastPass, or unshare if they've asked for our login credentials for different things. Let's create controlled environments for working environments where they're getting everything they're asking for, but you're also not just giving them the keys to the kingdom. And then if the vendor relationship goes awry, then they've got, if they wanted to be duplicitous, or they wanted to be like undermining, you've just given them a lot of access to be able to do those things. So I know Taryn brought up CRMs earlier. We're always most slow on giving anybody access to the CRM, because like that's all your list. Like when it's all said and done, that's your Rolodex now, right? Like you've done all the ads, you've done all the vetting, you've made sure that these are your buyers, you've got buyers listed, all different tiers. All of that is in your CRM. And if somebody exports and takes it with them, they've just got all of your work that you've been putting all these years of business into. So be careful how you're handing over the keys to the kingdom, and create workflows for things that you can anticipate they're going to ask you for, because this isn't your first rodeo. You've been here before, you've done this before. So make your life easier downstream, I would say, for all of that.
Yeah. Keys to the kingdom are heavy too.
Boy,
we got quite a lot of them.
And you've got them on your belt, right? And they're just jingling, like, and then you've got multiple links of the keys on your belt. Like, it's just, they can be really cumbersome and super heavy.
So Aaron, what if it was your first rodeo? What would you recommend?
I would always so a lot of times operations folks aren't the ones hiring. right?
Mhm.
That's the sucky part, right? Because if you've got the ability to hire, I would say do your due diligence. What you want to ask people as they come to you and say they're able to do all these things, like ask them who they've done it for, ask them to show you some of the things they've done, and then do a little like research on your own. Like maybe ask them for references, ask them for people that you could talk to make sure like don't don't get ponied up with a vendor that is all smoke and mirrors only to realize this is not totally true. But if you don't have that luxury, right? A lot of times a visionary will bring in a vendor and you're like, I don't even know if this guy's good. I would say be highly attentive, right? Be really watching for and listening for opportunities where you can metrically prove people, because that's going to help you determine too, how long is this person going to last? Now you're still going to fulfill on all the things that they're going to request from you. The visionary is not going to like if you start pumping the brakes on a bunch of the requests they're bringing back to you, but be watching, be listening, be
Mhm.
asking, is this person really good at what they do, or are they just saying they're good at what they do? Because that's going to help you downstream, right? But then I would say, as they start making requests, I would say, Terrence, you're usually the king at this, right? What are some of the key things that you ask when you're trying to vet? Yeah, but do you really need all of that? Or what do you specifically need? Because I think you're always the best. That we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Mhm.
I'm just a pleaser, man. I want people to be happy. I want the visionary to be excited. I want to fulfill on what they're asking for us. But sometimes I can say yes, yes, yes to too much. And Taryn's like, no, no, no. Wait a minute. What's the purpose? Maybe can you give us some frame up of how you kind of hedge the requests?
Yeah, well, I guess I like simplicity. So that's what I'm always thinking of when I start pushing the brakes on people is I hate building complexity because, complex solutions just lead to complex, like SOPs
Yep.
it's just complexity for
Sometimes
everybody's sake.
breaks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's, as people start pumping things out, it's more of like, okay, stop. Like, why do we need that? Are you throwing in something that doesn't even exist yet? I love thinking about future problems, but future problems, um, like, should we at least test to see if this is something we're going to do longer than a month before we decide if
Yeah.
it fits a volume of 1 million people? Um,
We're going to scale this to the moon. Yeah, well, let's test it and make sure it works, right? You can't scale something you haven't tested.
yeah. Yeah. So I guess it's just coming through simplicity, you know. I think another thing to be looking for when you, gosh, it was about those vendors. What were we talking about before you asked me that question?
I was just talking about creating good workflows on how you're handling things.
Oh, yes, and the hiring the vendors too. It's great when you ask them like, how would you solve this specific problem that you're hiring them for? They might tell you everything about them and what they do, what they've done for all these clients, and then you can ask them, okay, but here is the situation. Here's our network of applications. How would you solve this?
Yeah.
And I think it's great if people can admit if they don't know yet, like, okay, that's good. I need to do research, or I don't have all the answers right now, or I've never heard of that application. I would need to research it, rather than just spitting out recycled material they're going to tell everybody,
Right.
but making it specific to your environment and to your need, really helps knock down on the clarity and the expectation, and a good way to just vet people before you even hire them.
Yeah, no, I think I was on, and this is a little bit of a delineation of what we're talking about here, but it actually serves it really well. We do a lot of recruiting for Collab Team, especially for our high retainer clients these days. And I had a client that was trying to hire for a sales role, but it was more like an account manager role within sales. And we got this gal on the phone, and she's like, usually this is the second interview, right? So they've already passed our initial vetting. We're into the second vetting process now. And I like leading them into some questions, let them tell us a little bit about themselves. And then, we'll go from there, explaining the role a little bit. And it just gives us like that human texture. I've usually got the hiring manager on the phone at that point. But anyway, this gal starts in, she's a salesperson, right? And I said, hey, this is just like a casual interview style. We're just trying to get to know you a little bit. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? Like, it's just like the soft questions at the beginning, right? And this lady launches into this monologue that goes for like the next 20 minutes, where she absolutely has railroaded the whole conversation and is telling everything to us that she wants us to know. And part of it through there, I realized that she's done door-to-door sales. She's done a lot of door-to-door sales over time. And I'm thinking, I know door-to-door salesman, it's all about the script, right? You memorize the script. And I'm thinking, this lady is going off of her script. So then as soon as I can insert myself in, I asked her a random question that I knew was totally off script, that was going to take her a totally different direction than what she had planned. And she really got hung up, and some of her questions started coming back. And it was like, this, like, people want to convince you of what they can do. So I would say, just like Taryn said, when you can give them hey, this is a pain point that we're specifically facing. Can you give us an example of something that you've solved like this before? And how would you solve it? Like, when you ask people that, you really start getting down to quickly, are these people versatile? Can they do the things they say they can do? Or were they just memorizing a script? They were telling you the things they wanted you to hear. They were going to show you the images they want to show you for the sake of winning your business, because a lot of times people will pony up a lot of dollars at the front if you can convince them that you can do something. And then fulfillment can get a little rocky, but you've already got their cash. There's something out there where it's like they're not as concerned about fulfillment like we are. You know, I'll tell everybody, all my clients right out of the gates, I'll tell them, hey, listen, if we're not showing up the way that you expect us to show up, don't pay us. I'll give you your money back. I would rather, my reputation in this industry is more important to me than taking your dollars right now, whatever it is that you just paid me. So I think really coming to it and really asking questions of, are they going to be able to do what they say they can do? But I love that, Taryn. I love when you push out little projects here and there. I know you did that with a couple of different vendors, where I saw with, I think for Advance Your Reach, where they were trying to hire a couple of different people. And you're like, hey, could you show us what you would do with this situation? Or can you show us what you would do in this situation? And I think the vetting out of that came back pretty good, right? Some people came back and had some good results, and some people came back and you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, like, based upon what his answers were.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun when I gave them, it was like a data reporting person they were looking at. So I gave them a bunch of data and just asked them to report on it. Just with no context, just like, if you were asked to report on this, how would you report on it? It was fun though. It was, yeah, I gave them, there was like some red herrings. Is that what you call them?
Yes, red herrings. Taryn, good reference. I love it.
So yeah, I put a lot of red herrings in the data too, of like things that didn't line up. So really I was trying to see if they would mention those or not. So some people just combined it with everything. Some people called them out and be like, this data here didn't make sense.
I'll say this too. I love it that what you just said there, Taryn, is so brilliant to me, because I feel like the people that get it, it's like, there's no way you could get me on board faster than just proving to me your brilliance in a very small little window like that. All you did was throw in a little bit of spice to see how they'd handle it. And if they pick up on it and they say, yep, bam, 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 you're like, yep, this guy's in, bring him in and give him the keys. You know what I mean? Because you understand, they know what they're talking about at this point, and they just prove themselves to you on something that translated into your language. And then I've just felt like there's the collateral energy that comes out of somebody proving that they actually get it, rather than somebody that you're like, does this guy get it though? And then operations is always hesitant, you know?
You're going to weed out people like me that would get that and be like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's going on. I'm not qualified. Just remove myself from the situation.
You bet. See, Savannah, I think I would even be more willing to work with somebody like you that tells me that, than somebody that continues down the road and then brings back a bunch of things that it's like smoke and mirrors. Like, they're trying to game me. They're trying to convince me they know, but they don't understand. No, I'm asking you because I know. Like, I'm asking you, I put some red herrings in there just to see how you're going to handle that. And nope, throw that guy out. Somebody that's humble and is able to own it, I'd be like, no problem. What do you think about this though? And then continue to weed down, just like next layer.
Awesome. I think we're coming to the end of my talking list. We didn't have a note on here. If just a bonus. Yes, Savannah.
Can I touch a note on a question that you asked Aaron a while back about if it's your first rodeo? Like,
Savannah, tell me your thoughts on if it was your first rodeo.
Hey, Savannah, always push me out of the way. You have so much better things to say to me. And Daryl won't even come back on screen because I've been talking too much. So now that you're going to talk about it, I'm sure he's going to come back on screen. Like, go ahead.
Not better, just another perspective,
Alright,
because
cool, cool.
you were going at it from the perspective of the operations being able to hire the outside vendors and marketing that you're bringing on. But if it's your first rodeo, then chances are you might be early on in the company, in which case the visionary is still probably holding on pretty tight to that, in which case they're the ones bringing on, so you're not able to ask those questions. And so I would just bring that back to just how you said, make sure that you're attentive, just being super attentive to the visionary on that, and just trying to peel off as much as you can so that they're not trying to take on too much, because that is how you might get accidentally dug into a hole that then you're trying to put band-aids on, because the visionary is getting excited and they're chasing the shiny thing. And then they hand it to you to bring to the finish line, but you're missing all of these pieces. So just trying to be really really on top of the visionary through the process as much as you can. Like, hey, let me take that, or like, let me schedule a meeting with them, and you don't need to worry about that. Like, you got bigger fish to fry. Just trying to keep them, because a lot of operations is keeping people in their lanes, right? So just trying to keep the visionary in their lane and not chasing the red dot.
I think that's super smart.
Mhm.
And I think that's exactly how I'd frame it, Savannah, of like, how can you make this sound super process driven so that the visionary is like, no, I don't, like expose it for what it is. It's not going to be this sexy and fun all the way through. There's going to be a lot of process after this. Why don't you let me take the process based on it, and then let's do a meeting later this week for a half hour, and you can hit the high points of the things that you can come and just like preach to us on, of what you want us to see and do, and then send us downstream. Because I've noticed too, the quicker you can get the vendor talking to the person that's got the keys and got the data and has got the information, the better. They love that, because then they can actually get to work. A lot of times they get on calls with visionary, they're taking them all, like you're saying, Savannah, they're following that red dot all the way across there, and then they're chasing all these things that have nothing to do with the project. It's like, no, what was the project? Back to the example of Pedro's event next week. Pedro's doing Crush It Live next week. We've got multiple marketing vendors that are working on this live event that's happening. What does this vendor specifically need to do their specific job? And then, yes, we'll put you right with the right connection. Take that off. Pedro doesn't want to be in the connection. Pedro doesn't want to do any of that. He just wants to make sure they understand what's the goal of this, and then how can you get them back results. So
yeah, and he might yes, Daryl.
Oh no, Daryl's asking questions.
Ooh, double hand raise.
So like, you're talking about a lot of stuff that I feel like is over my head right now. However, I feel like I'm in the exact opposite corner, because I like rely a lot more on my team to bring me this type of information, instead of me saying, basically me getting in the way of it, kind of a deal.
I don't know.
So
You
they're
get
like,
in the way. You get in the way a lot.
hold on a second, Savannah, he's talking and I'm trying to get a thought across. But no, I mean, like, seriously though, like, my team holds me to the fire, you know, kind of deal. So I know what I want, and I stay in my head, and they're yanking it out of my head and then pushing me where I need to go to get what's in my head. What would you say, like, into reality or something like that? But that's my struggle. And I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, and a lot of the things that you're dealing with vendors is not something that I deal with, because, you know, like in my scope, mine are more straightforward. You know, like I don't have to negotiate and all that other kind of stuff and bring them into more information or less information. So I'm like, I'm loving the information, but for the most part of it, I'm like, my people tell me what to do.
That's why you're the sensei.
Oh, and yeah,
You're
I
like
learned a long
gold
time
for an
ago.
operations
My
team.
life around everything.
I think where
Like,
you may
yeah.
not be, where you might not be aware of it, Daryl, is that I think you've done a really good job at looking for young talent and bringing them in and showing them the beginnings of what you did, and then they've taken it to next level. So in my mind, like the things we're talking about today, like you've already cut out the vendor to bring somebody in-house, which is usually next step beyond that. Usually a lot of people hire vendor first before they bring somebody in-house. So then the vendor triages through stuff, and then they're like, oh, I recognize this is a pain point. I should hire somebody else. And then it turns into a hiring process, which is our recruiting process. We'll find somebody to backfill a vendor a lot of times once they've established it. Whereas I feel like you've done really good on, you managed a lot of your own marketing at the beginning. And then you had some of your younger students that came up through you that were good at some of this stuff. And you did really well at starting to hand things off to team. So I feel like you actually have some like next level developments within your business that you probably don't even realize you do. So like ways that you use patience, you know, or even ways that you're using Emily, or like different people that you've brought in where they're actually helping your brand move forward based on some of the things that you've done. But it's like you're leaning now into some of their expertise to take it to the next level. And then maybe where it would develop is where Patience is handling some of your stuff with social media, or how she's posting, or how those different things are going. Maybe at some point you might want to start really running ads. And so you might hire an ads consultant to work with Patience on some things. But it's like, it's almost like you've already started to create some of these sub departments within your business, even though you might not feel like your business is to this place yet. In my mind, I feel like, no, I think you've actually reverse engineered it in a really smart way. And I think you're going to see a lot of like energy really pick up quickly once you do start hiring vendors to really start like pouring some fire on the, you know, pouring some gasoline on the fire, because you already have a good fire going with your people.
Right. And so, Taryn, what I heard Aaron say was I'm next level. And I'm going to go with
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. I can confirm.
Oh, man. Don't let it get to your head too big though, because then I got to manage your head being too big for the next week or two.
Oh, hold on a second. Someone showed up in my place. Come here. Say hi.
Who we got?
She was trying to say hi earlier. Hi.
Yes, Lex, good to see you, honey.
Nice to see you too.
Miss you.
Good to see you.
Okay, keep going. Daryl's just distracting us.
Mm,
Savannah, did you have a bonus? Were we teeing up for a Savannah bonus with a Canva something? Was that on the docket for today, or did I miss?
yeah, I think we were just gonna have a little bonus session.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna talk a little bit about because if you're just starting out, you might not be hiring a swanky marketing team or outside graphic designer to be doing fancy stuff for you. And so if you're just running basic ads on, you know, Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing, I was just gonna talk about a little bit about Canva, which is a free tool, free to an extent. Can I share my screen?
Yes, I think I've got to empower you. Yes, go.
All right. So basically it's just, there's fancy design programs and they can do a whole lot of things. But if you're a visionary or your operations working with a visionary, you're a really small team, you're not going to want to spend $40 a month on the crazy program that's going to take hours to figure out even how to use it. Not that Canva, I mean, you could take hours learning how to use Canva too, because it can do quite a bit, but they just have so many pre-done templates. So all of this might look a little bit scary, but if you just seriously want to create an Instagram ad, you can just go to their search, type an Instagram ad, and it gives you options to click through. And then from there, you can go through all of these templates. If it has a little crown on it, that means that you have to pay for it. It is only $12.99 a month, and you get to have 5 seats. So you can have everyone on your team on it. So you can divide and conquer if you have a lot that you want to get done. If you're a nonprofit, also, you can apply as nonprofit status, show them proof of that, and then they give it to you for free. So that's a little extra fun perk. But you can do blank. And then so you can go with your own imagery, all that fun stuff, or you can type things like if you wanted to do something that's related to a spa.
Ooh,
Got all those things. Or if you're fitness.
I can go on a spa day.
Yeah, you do, Taryn.
Ooh. So they have all of these things in here, and you can just plug and play, put in your own branding, put in your own colors. It's just super easy to work with. So you can just click that and you're like, well,
Nice.
neon green isn't my color. I have Collab Team. You can insert your own brand in there. So you just have things for your whole team just ready to just go. You're not
Yes,
having to look up your hex codes in a brand guide, like you have it loaded into Canva. So it's just it's so user friendly. And like I said, like free, if you can, you know, stick within the basic options, which you have a lot of options in the basic version. But then, yeah, so I just click that, just click it and like, look, now it's that color.
Yeah.
So
Savannah, this really helps too for us. Like, I know we're getting ready to run a masterclass for Coffee Experts Club. Like when you start creating the way that you market things like consistently. So like if we do challenges this way, or we do master classes this way, or we do like webinars this way, you can create formats of things that all you have to do now is come and drop in new graphic, drop in new this. And it's like, our logo always goes here. Our wording always goes sub third, and it's already set up so that you can just start dropping the ads onto whatever your preferred ad platform is. I think it's pretty badass.
So yeah, so I made this for the mobile version of our landing page, and say we want to use like basically the same thing, but maybe I just want to change the image in the background or something, but keep everything else the same. You can go to File, make a copy, and there you go. I didn't do anything to get rid of that one. That one still lives there, and I just would update the title, and then I could just plug in a different image into the background, and there you go.
Wow.
So yeah, if you do the pro version too, there are some other perks, like you have like a content calendar, so you can take your design and directly plug it into the content calendar, tell it when you want to post to your Facebook page or your Instagram. So that's kind of cool too. If you're all about them automations, and again, if you don't have a huge team that's handling stuff for you, that's kind of a.
Wait a second. You can plug in your Facebook in here, add this to the content calendar on Canva, and it'll post to your Facebook on that day and time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty fancy, Turner.
So
That's pretty neat. I like this probably 5 times more than I like Lucid Chart.
Oh, stop it. You're such a Lucidchart hater. There's no reason to be like that.
I mean, you can make flow charts and presentations in here too if you wanted to.
Oh,
so see, look, they got all those presentation.
Yeah, that's the end.
This would
on his team.
This would be great for creating your lead magnet too, right? If you've got some sort of deliverable to get people's emails, it's like download your 5 checklist to how to not kill your pets.
Absolutely. You can even, so if you do, well, I'm in presentation mode, but you can, like, they even have like content calendar list, grocery list. Like you can, like, they have templates for everything, man. Like
I think you can even get as specific as like infographic, right? Like if you put an infographic, they've got there's some templates around that where you can kind of choose from.
Yeah, it's great. And you can even make them so they animate. It's not just doing, like you can animate pieces of it. Like every time you click on an element, you can, see, you can tell it to do stuff.
Yep.
So it's just, it's stuff that like Adobe, you can take 6 programs to do this. I mean, not 6, but 2, and spend a whole lot of time, or you can just click and click. And so now Adobe is actually trying to do a lot of things I've noticed, like Canva. You'll see in their ads where they're trying to show how user friendly it is, and it's like, don't play. But Adobe can do so many things that Canva can't. But that's what you hire a graphic designer for. If you need like specific, vectors and stuff, and make them giant and all that good stuff.
I love it. That was a great tour. Thank you.